Do you love silly stories for kids? Why not consider joining our family? You can even get a very special message from one of your favourite Silly Stories for Kids characters. Head over to the website to find out more. It's your support that helps us to continue to make exciting stories and more crazy content.
Did somebody say crazy?
Oh, Pimpin, no. One day, two little kids named Sophie and Archie were sitting in their backyard. Now they had decided that they were going to do some gardening. They'd found some tools and they'd found their shovels and their spades and they were getting ready, but they didn't have anything to plant. So they decided to go have a look around to see if they could find anything that they could put in their garden. As they were searching around the shed, they found this strange little packet of seeds. I haven't seen these seeds before, said Sophie. Me either, said Archie. Do you think we can use them? I'm sure it'll be fine, said Sophie. Okay. So Sophie and Archie took the seeds and went out to the garden. They'd been digging around and preparing the soil. They'd made a nice little patch to be able to plant their seeds. And then they dug some tiny little holes and dropped a seed in each one. Once they'd popped the seeds in, they covered it over with dirt. What do we do now, said Sophie. I don't know, said Archie. Maybe, do we water them? While they were thinking and talking, all of a sudden, something very strange happened overhead. A spaceship came pouring down out of the sky. Whoa, what's that, said Sophie. As it was zooming over the top of them, it started to hover directly over their backyard. Then all of a sudden, there was a big beam of light. Wow! I can't see, said Archie. The kids slowly blinked and blinked and blinked, and once their eyes adjusted again, there standing in front of them was a funny, green little alien.
Hello,
said the alien.
My name is Beepo.
Hello, Beepo, said Sophie, very confused as to why an alien was in her backyard.
I am looking for something that I think I left here.
What is it, said Archie.
Well, I had a very special packet of moon seeds, which I dropped last time I was looking in your shed.
What were you doing looking in our shed, said Sophie.
Oh, never mind. I can't tell you that, but have you seen my moon seeds?
What did they look like?
They were in a blue little packet with sparkly sides.
Uh-oh, said Archie.
What do you mean, uh-oh?
Said Beepo. We may have accidentally planted your moon seeds, said Sophie.
You what?
Said Beepo, his eyes almost popping out of his head. Yeah, we decided to do some gardening and we didn't have anything to plant and we found those in the shed and we thought it would be okay.
Uh-oh,
said Beepo. Is that a problem, said Sophie.
Not a problem, but things could be about to get very, very interesting. Have you watered them yet?
No, we were just talking about it.
Oh, I haven't missed the fun,
said Beepo, very, very excited, a big smile creeping across his face. What do you mean, said Sophie.
Well, depending on what you use to water the moon seeds, they turn out to be very, very different things.
Oh, as in like different coloured flowers?
More than just different coloured flowers. Let's find something to water them with.
Okay, said the kids. What could we use? I know, said Archie, as he went racing off into the house.
Where has he gone?
Said Beepo. I don't know, said Sophie. We better follow him. They raced inside and there was Archie inside. He'd opened up the fridge and pulled out the milk. Will this work? He said.
Oh, maybe,
said Beepo. So the kids and Beepo went back outside with the bottle of milk and went back to the garden bed where they had planted their seeds.
Okay,
said Beepo.
Be careful to only water one of the seeds,
said Beepo. Okay, said Archie. So he bent down with the milk bottle and tipped a little bit of milk onto one of the holes where the seeds were. As he did, the little bit of ground started to sparkle. Wow, said Sophie. What's it doing?
Stand back,
said Beepo, moving further away from the garden bed. How come? Said Archie. All of a sudden, out of the ground burst a giant plant It was taller than their house and it had all kinds of strange bits coming off the side. They were all white and they were stringing out in lots of directions. It seemed to be moving and wiggling a lot. "What is it?" said Sophie.
I don't know, said
Beepo. "Oh," said Archie, as he went over to have a closer look. As he got closer, the plant started to spin, and as it spun, all of a sudden, things started shooting out the sides. "Wow," said Archie as he tried to duck behind a different plant. The plant continued to spin, and as it did, the things shot out faster and faster and faster. "What is it?" said Sophie. I don't know," said Archie. "They seem to be..." He went out and had a look, and as he stepped out from behind the bush, he got hit by one of the things getting shot from the plant. "Whoa," he said. It hit him square in the chest, and as it did, he started to lift off the ground. Whoa, he said.
"Oh, this is interesting,"
said Beepo as he jumped out from behind his plant. He got hit by a few as well and started floating too. "Whoa," said Sophie. "So it makes you fly?" "Whoa!" said Archie, zooming around the backyard. "Sophie, quick, get some!" "Oh, okay," said Sophie. So she jumped out from behind where she was hiding as well, and one of the things hit her too. She started to fly around through the sky. "What is it?" said Sophie.
"Oh, it must be the famous flying sap of the flying plant."
"Oh, this is incredible!" The kids started zooming around the backyard, flying everywhere. As they were flying, the neighbours in the backyards next door were very confused as they saw two little kids and an alien zooming around the sky. They were doing flips and tricks and all kinds of things. Sophie came down and landed on top of the spinning plant, and as she stood there, she started to spin with it as well. Wow, she said. "This is amazing."
"I know," said Beepo, "but it won't last for very long. We better get back down to the ground."
Okay, said Sophie, flying back down towards the ground. Beepo flew down as well.
"Where is your brother Archie?"
said Beepo. They looked around, and there, way up in the sky, was Archie. He was getting higher and higher and doing more flips and spins. "Archie, come down!" yelled Sophie. "This is so much fun!" they heard him yell. "Uh-oh."
"Oh dear,"
said Beepo. Archie's flying powers were beginning to disappear, and he started falling directly down towards the ground. "What do we do?" said Sophie.
"Maybe try and catch him?"
said Beepo. "I can't catch him. He's gonna squash me."
I don't know."
Sophie couldn't think of anything except maybe one of the plants can help him. She raced and grabbed the first liquid that she could find. She found some washing detergent that was ready for washing the windows and tipped it on the seed next to the first one. All of a sudden, a plant shot up quite quickly. It wasn't as tall as the last one, but it was a lot wider. And her brother came flying down towards it. Doing! He went sailing back up into the air.
"Oh, yippee, you found a bouncy plant,"
said Beepo. "Really?" said Sophie.
"Really?"
said Beepo, as Archie bounced way back up into the sky. "Hey, I want to turn at that," said Sophie.
"Jump on,"
said Beepo. So Sophie jumped onto the bouncy plant as well, and Beepo joined her, and all of a sudden there was two kids and an alien bouncing on a giant bouncy plant doing flips and spins. "Wow, that was close," said Archie.
"Yes," said Beepo. "You almost ended up being planted in the garden as well,"
said Beepo. The kids laughed. "Thank goodness I wasn't," said Archie. "Thanks, Sophie. That was quick thinking." They kept jumping on the bouncy plant and having a wonderful time together.
"Okay, we better water this last seed,"
said Beepo. So the kids jumped off the bouncy plant and went over to the last seed. What can we put on it this time?" said Sophie. They thought and thought and thought until they came up with an idea. "Maybe," said Sophie, "we could use bubble mixture."
"Oh, good idea,"
said Beepo. So the kids went and found some bubble mixture and tipped a little bit on the seed.
"Not too much,"
said Beepo. As they were talking, Archie accidentally bumped the bottle of bubble mixture, and the rest of the bottle tipped onto the seed.
"Uh-oh,"
said Beepo. All of a sudden, dink! A tiny little plant popped out of the ground. The kids went and looked very closely. I don't think it works, said Sophie. Yeah, said Archie. Maybe bubble mixture doesn't work.
Maybe,
Said Beepo, as he went really close to have a good look.
it looks like a plant.
Said Beepo.
Maybe it...
All of a sudden, bubbles started pouring out of the tiny little plant at an astronomical rate. Beepo got caught inside some of the bubbles and was getting lifted off into the air.
Oh, help!
Said Beepo as he got taken over the top of the house. The kids tried to get closer, but the bubbles were filling up everywhere. There were so many bubbles that in moments the kids couldn't even see the backyard. It was completely full of bubbles. Bubbles were going everywhere. They started pouring into the house and out the doors and through the windows. Every single part of the whole house was completely full of bubbles. Beepo had floated over the house before his bubbles popped and he landed in the front yard. He tried to come back through the front door but ran into all the bubbles that were inside.
Where are you?
Called Beepo. We're coming, said Sophie as she tried to get into the house as well. Archie, Sophie and Beepo were all trying to find each other inside the house, but it was completely full of bubbles. And the more bubbles that filled up the house, something strange happened.
Can you feel that?
Said Beepo. I can, said Sophie. I think the house is lifting off the ground. Before they knew, the entire house had been completely pulled off its foundations and was starting to float into the sky. Wow! Yelled the kids.
This is amazing,
said Beepo, as the house was flying in the sky. The neighbours now were completely and totally confused, and all the people on the roads were looking up at the sky as they saw a house flying through the air. It was one of the most ridiculous sights that people had ever seen, and before they knew, the bubbles started to pop.
Uh-oh,
said Beepo. The house started to get lower and lower and lower, and the kids were starting to get worried. We're going to squash something, yelled Sophie. Oh dear, said Archie. How do we guide this thing?
maybe if we put our hands out the windows and flap?
What? Said Sophie.
I don't know. I don't have any better ideas.
Okay, let's try. So Sophie went to one side of the house and Archie went to the other, and Beepo stood in the middle and started to lean from one side to the other. And as the kids flapped and Beepo leaned, they realised that they could actually guide the house. Okay, said Sophie. Beepo, maybe try and guide it over towards that footy oval over there.
Oh, that would be a safe place to land.
Yep, okay, let's do it. So the kids kept flapping and Beepo kept leaning and the house got closer and closer to the football field. It was slowly sinking and sinking and sinking until eventually the house landed in the middle of the oval, much to the surprise of all the people doing football training on the field. The kids stepped out the front door and the coach of the team was standing there very confused. "Where did you kids come from?" he said. "Well," said Sophie, "I don't think you'd believe us, even if we told you." And that is the end of the story.